Every K-pop fan has a story, but behind every anti,
there is a reason. Let us watch presents
Anti-analysis with Oppar Imnidar. A1st Central, fan of Rania to
Blackswan Anti.
So in 2010, A1st Central created her fan base for these girls, Rania. But it wasn't until 2013 when Candy first got that contact from DR Music. Now listen, it was a time before whatever that thing is, and a time before Black Swan. It's even before Alex joined Rania. Before that man gave Yemi loads of money. This is Mr. Yoon. Mr. Yoon was looking to promote Rania within the fan bases, so he gave this job to his most trusted company employee. Now, he's the male lead of our story, the Lee Min-ho of this drama, and the man that turned Candy from a fan into an anti. But you'll realise that she's really not an anti, and that she's just her. This is Philip, and we're going to call him Youngjin for the rest of this story. So Youngjin started getting in touch with some of the fan bases. Now, he had a list, but unfortunately Candy's fan base wasn't on that list. So some of her friends, some of her rivals, they had been in contact with DR, so she wanted some of that herself. So she got in touch with her friend Rania Chile, or her friends at Rania Chile, but we'll just pretend it's one person for now. Rania Chile. She originally gave the email over to A1, and A1 emailed DR and finally got a reply. Now, when Youngjin first replied to the emails, mentioned that he was super kind and super nice. She actually thought that her fan base was a bit of a flop fan base, which is ironic considering what she calls Black Swan. But anyway, she was flattered. She was happy to have this company interaction at first. Now, imagine this. As K-pop fans, we rarely get that. We rarely get that actual communication from the company directly. You know, yes, we get a stiff New Year's greeting next to a wall from our idols, but we don't ever get that recognition from the company. Do you know? Yes, there are instances when fans overthrow a company's decision, but we don't get that direct interaction. So anyone would be excited at that. So I think that is something that we need to take into consideration when we look at the rest of this story. Up until this point, all of the interactions were great. They were more than great. She was so grateful to be part of helping promote her group. But of course, there was internal fan wars between different fan bases. Most notably, there was one 7 Rania girls. Now the owner of that, Nani or Nani, depends how you say it. She does come back a little bit later. But so back to the story. There was internal fan wars, and at the time Candy was, let's say, working with somebody. Now Youngjin didn't like this. He wasn't happy at all, but he didn't seem to care what her friend did. It's all about what Candy did. Now, she ended up apologising. This was minor, really. She wasn't upset by the company yet. She was still happy to have that response with them. Youngjin had to go to the military at this point. So, the fandom was minor, but this next issue was major. Ingenio Media, in Candy's words, were a poor excuse of a company. Now, they were a media company talking about setting up Rania with other celebrities within the racing industry and putting them on cars, you know, like pocket girls. So obviously Candy being a fan base at this point, there was some issues with Rania and some member changes. Now, I'm sure we all know that Rania's had multiple members over the years, but the original main vocal, Juyi, what it was is Candy wanted to see if Juyi was still in the group. So when they contacted, she asked, you know, can you make a new greeting? And DR were ignoring her at that point. She wasn't getting any response. But Ingenio Media, they started to give Candy more information than maybe they should have. They sent her over a PDF that contained some demos of Rania. Now, you know, Candy was suspicious about this whole thing, so she got in contact with the manager, and the manager of Rania didn't even know who Ingenio Media was. So she just tried to contact DR directly, and she wasn't getting any response. So, feeling a bit lost, she thought, well, no one's responded to me. She turned to the fans and posted that demo. Like, I don't blame her. It featured on the album Demonstrate with Alex. So she says this was the start of all the drama. Now, she definitely was not joking. There is a lot to unwrap. So, after all of this time, really just asking DR to tell the truth or to respond even when she had information. You know, the company wanted to hear from her when it was something to do with them, but whenever she asked for a response, it didn't happen. So, it's safe to say at this point, you know, most people thought she was an anti, but listen to this. There was some dancers who hadn't been paid from DR Music, so they were posting on a group about it and, you know, trying to get that out there. So what Candy did was, you know, promote that, and she wanted to help these dancers more. Yes, it was ammunition to use against them, but she just kept posting. And, you know, this wasn't to hurt the group. It wasn't to hurt anybody. It was to get justice for the dancers, but also to make DR have to respond. Now, remember Make Star? Rania had a goal set on there, and it was done. It was reached, and the fans wanted to hear some sort of response on it because it had been a while. And A1 again posted this and backed this and tried to search for the truth. Remember the original 3 members? They were going to join another group, but everything got cancelled for them. And you know, this was to do with DR. The 3 original members didn't get to re-debut because of a bitterness that DR Music had. This was their fault. They'd sabotaged that debut and everything got cancelled. When the agency responded and said that Youngjin was going to be the one who was dealing with this from now on, it was a bit of a breath of fresh air to A1 because, you know, she had dealt with him in the past. There was a bit of a falling out. It was someone that she knew and it was a direct contact again. So, with that in mind, she went on to email him. She even said that this was something that she could look forward to. So she emailed and waited. And it wasn't until, again, she had to put pressure onto the company for Youngjin to actually respond. Now, you've got to understand her frustrations. I think when all she's trying to do is be clear and find out truth, and, you know, the agency doesn't really help with their response. They are sort of doing everything that she says that they do. Like, I really don't know about Anti. If anything, she sounds like an activist